Let's hit it.
Let's hit it.
Okay, we've pressed
What is the
record.
crack today? What's the crack? What are we talking about today?
So we're going to talk about what is the crack with commenting on other people's bodies. Um, and as we know, that's something that we get asked a lot, isn't it? Or that gets spoken about in the hub a lot, where people might make comments on some of our members' bodies, or it's in the conversation, like they're at work and they're talking about, oh, did you see this celebrity has lost weight, or did you see this celebrity has gained weight? And I suppose how we might be able to navigate those conversations, and also understand really why it never helps any of us, like the collective, it doesn't help anybody for us to have this constant obsession and the fact that it's so normal to just think like that we
That's
can
just
just comment
normalized,
on
isn't
something.
it? Yeah. I think if we start even with where has this come from? Do you know, because like we hear so often that my granny or my aunties or my mummy. So generationally, I think it's come down through the generations that these women, and we're not looking to blame, we're looking to understand, but think about it, how often do many of our grannies or aunties or your mothers or whatever start to have these conversations about bodies and other people's bodies? And so I think we actually were brought up with this normalization until you realize it's not normal of speaking about other people's bodies, size, shape, weight, or whatever.
Absolutely. And if you really dig deep into it, we know that like certainly if you read Sabrina Sabrina no God, I'm not going to get her surname right. Is this Sabrina, not Strings? What's her surname? She wrote the Fear in the Black Body. What's
Oh
her
yeah.
surname? God, can't
I'll,
remember.
talk
But
and I look it up.
I'll be rambling here and you look it up. But essentially, when you read her book, it's quite clear also that it's quite like rooted in racism, particularly around like, larger black women. And I suppose the focus on, what it means to be in a bigger body and the messages around, your attractiveness and your worthiness and all of this. It stems back from like,
Even
long, long
Eons.
time ago.
Mm.
And it's kind of like obviously, I
Strings. It
suppose
is Sabrina Strings.
strings, is it? I was here
Yeah.
going, is it springs or strings? I couldn't remember. Anyways, but yeah, so obviously the roots in, I suppose, racism and how I suppose it like the focus has been on women around like keeping us as small as possible, keeping us looking at and focusing on our aesthetics and how we place so much value on that. Whether if we look a certain way, we might be set up with whatever man that might be, or that we might be suitable to be matched with somebody based on our aesthetics, like what we look like. That's the way that it was all of those decades or whatever years, I don't know exactly, but so it's been ingrained in us from like generationally, like
Mm.
right down to our own, I suppose, parents' generation and our grandparents'
Yeah.
generation, where it became
It
then
became
quite
the norm.
normal.
Yeah.
It just became the normal for women to talk about other women's bodies and for women to talk about their own bodies and to put their own bodies down or criticize their own bodies very freely in front of other people. Like we all,
Yeah.
I know I certainly would have been very happy years ago to be like, oh, super critical of what I looked like, put myself down. Or if somebody said to me, oh, you look nice, I'd be like, oh God, no, I'm so this and I'm so that. And,
Pointing
all
out
the
your
way.
flaws really before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I know, and I think we all can recognize that, and in so many different ways. Um, and even whenever coming up to occasions, and some people still do this, and this is what we're looking to highlight and even help change is, coming up to, like, obviously I have a family wedding going on at the minute, and I was just back from a hen do, but even the whole talk around your body having to look a certain way for, so there's a couple of things that brought up, it's like the talk around your body having to be a certain way for an occasion, and I'm like, this is your here and now body. Why does the body have to look and be a certain way for the occasion was one thing. And the other thing was even the commenting on, like one of my particular members of family, her body had changed. She had lost a lot of weight. And the other cousin was saying, oh, look, you look so small, you look so tiny. But there's been also a lot going on with the girl whose body has changed. And they know me, they know the work I do, and they know I just, when I'm with them, I say it as it is. And this is bringing us to the question of, well, how do we change it? How do we change it? And for me, like I just turn around and I said, listen, don't be commenting on our bodies. It's not cool to be commenting on our bodies anymore. Her body was absolutely fantastic last year, and all the years we've known her, her body is still fantastic now. We don't need to be highlighting. We none of us need to be highlighting what size our bodies are, or indeed focusing on what size your body's going to be for this this weapon. But I suppose I think what I'm saying here is also because I've done this level of work, which has helped. But for anybody else who's trying to change it, well, then what would you say, Sinead? What would your thoughts be what they should do or what we could do?
I think first it's about kind of probably first starting with yourself and minding your own energy around it, because I think you have to put like the shield up, you have to protect yourself. And sometimes you may not have the energy or the capacity, even within your own nervous system, to have these conversations with people or to make like it's different for you, Sean, I suppose. Like you said, you've been doing this work for many years, your family know that you work in this field, and you have that kind of you have the practice of
Yeah.
maybe having those conversations. Whereas for a lot of us, we wouldn't be practiced, and it could feel really, really awkward and scary to say, actually, do you know what? I really would really appreciate if you don't make any comments on my body. Like a lot of people would really struggle to even say that, because they'd be like, oh no, you couldn't say that. That's been rude. And they're only paying me a compliment. And I suppose that's another issue, isn't it? Is that like
Mhm.
we perceive that if there's any comment about weight loss, that it's automatically a compliment. Why
Yeah.
would we perceive it as a compliment? Because of course we value weight loss, we value thinness. So, and what we also then, the other side of that is we tend to not comment usually, well, that's not always the case, but we tend to not comment directly to someone's face if they've gained weight. But what
Yeah.
often happens is that the person themselves can often detect the judgment, the scanning of their body. And also, what do people do? They go and talk to their friends or whoever else to gossip
And we
about
know,
that.
like with the rebound, like we know of the rebound of diet, and that invariably, and even our own personal histories, and the histories of people that we work with, weight goes down when they diet, and for the most people, it's regained. And when the weight is being lost, all the compliments, and then when weight is being regained, the radio silence. And if you're saying you're praising me so much for going on my, and I got so much attention, well, then what are you now thinking about it going the other way? And like
Yeah.
that's really awful for the person as well.
Totally. And anytime I've spoke about this on social media, I'll always have somebody that will come and say, well, when I really appreciated the encouragement, and I did take it as a compliment when I was losing weight. And I'm like, look, I'm not here to deny what you experienced or how you felt. But I do think I would be curious about the underlying message that's kind of reinforced that, like, is it really about the hard work that you're putting in, or that the fact that you're getting that kind of praise about your smaller body? Like, where then are you placing your value? Like, what if your body changes? What if you regain that weight? What
Mhm.
then does that mean? And what are you going to internalize as a result
Data,
of,
which most people do, and
which
then
of
feel
course we do.
awful, and it really affects their mental health. Like I think it's terrible.
But of course, like even I know that like obviously some people here might know that I was part of, I suppose, a campaign to remove the weight loss TV show from our
Mhm.
screens, Operation Transformation. And one of the things that I done was I spoke to loads of participants from that show that had been on the show for years. And what was one of the top things that everybody had said was that they got
Mhm.
so much.
Yeah,
Well done, lost all the
yeah.
weight, amazing, woohoo. And like basically, because they got so much attention and encouragement and praise, that basically, like you said, that radio silence when their body started to change and they began to regain the weight. I had people say to me, I couldn't leave the house. I was
Emotion,
so,
because
so
shame, it's shame.
shamed that my
Yeah,
neighbors would see that my body
yeah.
had changed.
Mhm.
So again, it's not this benign
Yeah.
comment when we comment on people's bodies. It can have a
And
real impact. And
you
of
made a
course,
good point. Sorry, I should have interrupted you.
no, 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 no. But like I was even saying, like recently, only before I got this work done, like when I recently, a lovely neighbor of mine just again
That's
made
what I
this
was going to
comment.
say. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like,
Yeah, like I was out running and walking, and she'd seen me a few times, and she was like, "Geez, you're flying it like you're burning holes in those runners with all the walking you're doing. You're going to fade away to nothing." And I was like, I'm not here to fade away. I
mhm.
am not here to fade away. I am out here because this moving my body feels good. It's not about what I look like. And only for I've got this work done, those little comments can get into your head going, oh, I wonder, am I fading away? And like, what am I going to make that mean? Does
Yeah.
that mean that I'm doing a good thing or that I'm doing it right?
And when we
It's
know, I
just
think we know
crazy.
because as human beings, we're ultimately here to connect, and being in that connection and the human race is what keeps us surviving. But whenever that connection, the beliefs are enforced, well, then, you're prized, you're better, it's higher value to be in that smaller body. And we feel that whenever it's being reduced. So then there is when it goes the opposite way, it's like, oh, how does this mean I'm going to be connected or not? As it shifts and changes. And even that's what you were saying, maybe it's fading away a good thing. Oh, the neighbours are appreciated or thinking more, but really it's all a load of rubbish, isn't it?
Yes. Well,
Yes.
also as well, it's
Yes,
one of
was
the
it?
And we also know from like an evolutionary perspective is that we have an innate, as you said, like we have an innate, need to connect with our community, to be a part of our community. As humans, if we didn't connect and feel like we were safe in our community, then essentially our survival would have been threatened. I'm talking about when we were like hunter gatherers and we all had to basically be in community or else we would not survive on our own. And I suppose there is something around the acceptance piece that if you're thin in our society at the moment, you are more accepted than if you are not. So there's something around that again that like when people get those comments, they're like, oh, now I feel like I'm fitting in.
Yeah.
Now I belong. Now I'm a
Yeah.
part of this,
Mhm.
society that I kind of connect with or that I can relate to on some level because I'm now one of these people that are thin,
Yeah.
when I lose
Yeah,
weight. And it's
and I think two things are coming to mind. So one is that societies or standards. I remember, and I've said this, so I've said the story before. I had a client who went on a holiday to I think it was Cuba, and she came back and she was like, "Oh my God, I totally get it now." She says, "Like my big boobs and my bum, I was a prized queen in Cuba. They absolutely loved me."
adored her.
Adored her body. She says they were like, this was the body they have. And she said, now I see what you're trying to tell me. It's the beliefs we have in our society and even how body image has shifted throughout the ages. I suppose that's one thing, is that's what we need to question. And what's our trend right now? And how can we even question that? And the other thing then, it's really questioning, we've no idea what's went on for that person. Like, and I know this from, people who have the worst eating disorders, the worst relationship with food and their body, the worst traumas. And that's what shrunk their body. Even I know, I went through a phase a couple of years, not a phase, but a period of my life a couple of years ago, was because of personal circumstances, and my body just metabolized and I lost weight really quickly. And if you'd said to me, Shauna, stay the size that you're at and not have to go through what you've experienced or be in that smaller body and experience that, because it was very traumatic for me, I'd have been like, give me body size. And I'm saying this knowing that I'm not referring to being in a bigger body anyway, but equally I'm just saying, it's irrelevant. I pick the healthier body, the healthier life, the healthier mind at any time. And people are a bit unaware, to say the least, of what is going on for that person,
Yeah,
that they may be struggling with an eating disorder, they may be on their way to, or have anorexia, they may be bulimic, they may go through like some really bad, horrific stress that they actually can't eat. They may have an illness. Do you know what I
totally.
mean?
They may have a serious illness. They might be going
Yeah,
through fertility issues. They might have be
yeah,
going through a divorce that nobody knows about. They
yeah.
could be going through like a million things that has basically impacted their appetite, and they've just naturally lost weight because they aren't able to physically eat enough for their
Mhm.
body's needs. That's not something to celebrate.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
That's not something
Mhm.
to go,
Mhm.
well done, like
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's not good. That's not healthy, right?
So I
Um,
suppose the thing is then to say is, okay, so for anybody listening to this, what would we advise? What would we say they could do that would help shift and change this?
so
So
I
I think
suppose
do the work yourself first. That would be one, is do the work on yourself and your own beliefs. What is it you believe? Look at what your beliefs are and start to really challenge and change them. And we know we can do that by many different ways. And one of the most important thing is ways is to be the watcher of our mind, the watcher of these thoughts, raise our awareness around them and challenge them every single day. That would be one, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely doing your like noticing what comes up for you. And, like I said earlier, I think we do have to also do a little kind of scan, a little check in with ourselves to see like what capacity we have. You may have some family members that you might need to have really important kind of direct conversations with because maybe it's very normal in your family to have those conversations. Maybe that's something you're exposed to quite a bit. I mean, like during COVID, times when all that was going on. Remember all those awful memes, like everybody was talking about like the
Yeah, I
COVID
remember
stone
that.
and yeah.
I'm going to tell you a story about that.
So they were
Yeah.
kind of circulating like mad, like as if the worst thing that could happen during that time
Yeah.
was
Was
that
it
you gained a
Barbie?
few
There was the
pounds.
Barbie before and after
Yeah,
photos of the
yeah,
different sizes. Yeah.
totally.
Yep.
So like I remember we've got a big family WhatsApp group, and those memes were going in, and a good few members of my family were popping them in. I remember the time, like we, myself and my sisters, would have made like a couple of comments going like, "Yeah, no, not funny, guys. Like, not cool." Also, we had quite a few younger cousins, like barely
Hmm.
18. Like we were in our mid 30s or whatever it was, but we had younger cousins now in the group as well. But I remember anyways, like my other sister who like after a couple of times of saying it and it not being listened to, exited group, like my sister
Yeah.
Gillian, exit group, and
Oh,
everybody
Gillian.
probably just going, oh my God. But her making that stand, I honestly don't think in the last 4 years or whatever it's been,
Holds
I
it
don't
any
think
of
there's
his
been one
bodies.
meme
Yeah.
gone in about something around weight or body because
Yeah.
that she made such a stand with that.
Exactly. And I think that's it. It's about making the stands, but having the energy and the awareness to make the stands. Do the work yourself first. And how you do that is looking at your own beliefs and shifting them. And then the second one is making the stand in society where you can, because it's funny you say that exact meme. Was appeared in a woman's group, like a woman's business networking group, a local one that I was part of. And a couple of them were laughing and talking and all of this. And I wrote the owner of it a lovely email, and I was like, listen, I know you think this is just the way it is, but actually, if we look at weight stigma, if we look at how people in bigger bodies are going to feel, you have a lot, because there was other people in the group who were even coming to see me as clients at the time, and I was like, you realize how
There you
harmful this
go.
is. You realize there's
Yeah.
people in your group who that this is hard. And she was like, I'm so sorry, I just totally did not see it, but now you've pointed it out. I can't unsee it. And she removed it and put up a post. So it's not about having
Yeah.
the fights or the confrontations. There's actually a lot of good you can do by subtly, not subtly, but just by being direct and explaining things
Yeah.
and pointing it out. And you something else you said there, Sinead, is about the younger ones and the family, because this is where the change is at. We want to change it for our generations so that our younger generations don't have to do this. We never want our daughters or our sons to have these conversations, or to be standing up for their body, or to be in a society where this is going on. And it's really funny. My friend visited me over Christmas, and something came on the TV, and she happened to, and I have an 11-year-old girl and a soon to be 18-year-old son, and they were sitting there, and she happened to make a comment. The two of them turned around about somebody's body, and they said, we don't comment about bodies in this house. And I was
Yeah,
like,
there you go. But
yes,
you're, of course, because they've
uh-huh,
learned that from you and you're like, yes, go
I
on.
know.
That you've
But it's
modeled
like
that for them.
subtly,
Yeah.
it's about having the conversations, not being afraid to say that, not being afraid to call it out in a positive way, you know?
Totally. Like even that woman, and again I had another neighbor that said it to me like a couple of months back about like fading away and this crack, and,
Mhm.
and I remember we'd been out running and whatever, and yeah, like for me what I kind of always reply is like you said, it doesn't have to be a, oh my God, you're so rude, and like if you don't have to say something that's going to cause kind of some kind of really awkward tension, like even though it is rude, but you can say something like, actually, no, I don't. I'm not monitoring my body at all. I've no idea. Like that's
No
not something
idea.
I'm.
Yeah.
That's not
Interested
something I'm
in.
kind of, yeah, that I care about or that
Yeah.
I'm watching or anything like that. You can kind of rehearse like different responses in
Yeah.
those situations. Like for example, I would just ask yourself, like, okay, where does this show up in your life? Is it amongst your siblings, for example, and something that you kind of end up talking about a lot? Maybe
Yeah.
your siblings talk about dieting all of the time. So maybe you want to say to yourself, what is something that I could say to my siblings about like not wanting to, no longer wanting to talk about weight loss, or our bodies, or commenting on anybody else's body? Like, what's something that I feel like I could say? What would feel,
Yeah.
okay for me and safe for me to say? Or like you think about your group at work. Let's say you come at
Yeah,
lunch
work's
and
another massive one. It's like diet
yeah,
bonding, body criticizing bonding nearly, or critical body bonding. It's like, what? Yeah, it's a massive one.
so just thinking about like
Mhm.
what is something you could say, and I think that sometimes it can be helpful to start with like the I statement. You could be like, I notice, guys, that actually the more we talk about dieting, or the more that we have like any conversations about other people's bodies or our own, the more actually I realize that it just doesn't help me. I feel really
Service,
stuck
yeah.
thinking about it, and maybe sharing something about how it impacts you can sometimes like help like lower the defenses of the other person or the
Yeah.
other people, so
Mhm.
they kind of they can hear what you have to say on a
Yeah.
bit of a deeper level, that they're not automatically coming to their defense, about
And
why
even
they
if you
said
find it
something.
difficult, because sometimes in the earlier days of doing this work, people can find it difficult to say anything. And even saying nothing and changing the subject is also another way of taking a
Totally.
stance. Not engaging in the talk at the school gate, or the mothers' parental groups who are standing, talking about it, or not engaging in those groups at lunchtime, or just saying nothing or changing the subject's another really good one. So what he's all doing at the weekend. So
Yeah,
that's another way if you don't feel ready to take that step and address it.
totally. Redirecting the conversation is a great one. Just like not really engaging, and just, yeah, moving away to something
Yeah.
else. And again, having a topic or two always to kind of hand, like, that you can easily talk about, you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm. I think
So
that's
yeah,
good. Doing the work yourself, reframing your beliefs, being able to speak it out with the people who, are influencing it the most, particularly family, siblings, work colleagues, whatever. And then equally being able to change the subject or just not
yeah.
engage in it is three really good ways.
And also, Shauna, we've had one or two clients that because they were struggling with kind of putting the words together and being able to kind of have that conversation with family, I think it was in
Yeah,
particular. They wrote them a letter, remember? And we've had like a
yeah.
couple of clients that would say,
Hmm.
they actually outlined like, you think you're maybe helping me by
Yeah.
commenting. You might think that when you make comments, when you think I've
Hmm.
lost weight, or if I'm eating something, and you make a comment about how that might impact my weight loss or my weight gain or whatever it is, but this is actually what it does to me. This is
Yeah.
actually how I
You
feel.
might
It
help
really
them
puts so much
100%.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe writing a letter
Mhm.
is another option that you maybe can, at least you can just like, leave it there. You can say, look, I'd really love if you could read this when you get a minute, and then maybe we can have a conversation about it. So it might be another way to kind of have that icebreaker, if you
Yeah.
don't feel that you can kind of
100%.
dialogue one to one.
Yeah. I think that's a really good one as well. What about what came to mind there is if it's someone's in a relationship and their partner is the one then I think that's quite complex, that one. But no matter what, it's still not okay.
Yeah, no, it's just
It's
not
never okay.
okay. Like it's
It's
never
not okay.
okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
think it's
sometimes
that.
I think in that situation, it's really like, what else is going on for that person
Yeah.
that's what they're projecting. And, if you're sitting and you don't feel so good in your body, well, then you're believing that to be true. But actually, you can it's just not. It's very often projection. It's complex. There's other things going on. And I would really question that if that's happening in a relationship.
And totally, and like I will totally own that for years ago when I used to be very like I used to comment on Declan's food intake or body, and I know I've shared this before that like I would have been quite critical, and you know what? It was never about Declan. Like it was never
See?
about him. It was always my own
Yeah.
stuff, and it was always when I felt like I couldn't control what was going on for me, I projected that onto him.
Yeah.
That's what I
Hmm.
done.
Hmm.
And when I healed
Poor
my own
Declan.
stuff, poor Declan, I know.
What he has to
Go
put up
through
with,
the mill.
Sinead. I
But,
wanted
I
to.
suppose it's just to remind people that it was never about him. It was always my own stuff. And when I worked through that, then it completely fell away. Everything that I ever kind of said to him, like
Yeah.
it all fell away, right? When
Hmm.
I done
Yeah.
the work for myself.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I hope there was something helpful there for everybody that has
You
listened.
enjoyed
So
it.
if you've listened to us this far, well done.
Thank
And
you.
we'd love to hear if you've got any other topic suggestions that you would like us to cover on these little mini pods or whatever we're going to call them. What's the crack with Sinead and Shauna? So any
Yeah.
topics are very welcome. And we will see you all soon.
Thank you.